Welcome to the Izzy Chinche Show. And I remember the trainer talking to me and he was like, you can't do this. You need to change positions, like maybe be a defender or something. And I was like, I'm not going to go any less hard as a defender. I'm so excited you're able to tune in. Join me as I interview athletes, entrepreneurs, and high achievers. I also share much about my life struggles, trials, and successes in hopes to inspire you. I intend for this show to be one of the greatest shows of all time, so your listening and support means the most to me. My goal is to help inspire as many people as possible, so please share with a friend if you enjoy just one thing from today's episode. Together, we can help more people grow. Let's get started. What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my soccer story, how I got into soccer, some of the injuries that I faced, how soccer taught me to grow up, and then how I kind of transitioned into coaching and doing what I am now doing. So I'm going to take it back, way back to little Izzy. 5-year-old Izzy gets introduced to soccer by my dad. He's from Peru, and soccer is big there, so he just put a ball in front of me and started kicking it around, and I quickly fell in love with it. But I was raised in a very strict household, and also religious household, and was homeschooled, so team sports weren't as much of a thing that was even allowed. So the way that I got into actually playing soccer was with all of my siblings and then our friends who were in a similar homeschool weird-ish group. So that's literally how I learned to play soccer, was going to the park with friends and kicking the ball around. And I really look back now and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't even know the rules of soccer. I don't think I understood the rules of soccer. I don't think most of us who were out there playing understood the rules of soccer. But I was allowed to play in this little rec league called CYSL. And even still, I don't think the refs and the coaches knew all the rules of soccer. I'm grateful for that opportunity, but it was very much ragtag, just kicking the ball around. But even with that, I was so passionate about the game. It's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was play soccer, get better, beat my friends, and be a professional soccer player. Be a professional soccer player, be a Division I soccer player. That was always my dream. So as I started getting older, my brother, Jack, he went to my parents and he was like, guys, you're wasting this kid's talent. We know she's actually talented. She could actually play on. You guys seriously aren't going to let her play club. Come on. And my parents decided to listen to him and were like, okay, that's right. She's 14. Maybe we'll allow her to go play some club soccer. So I went around to my mom was awesome and tried to get me a tryout with these teams. The season had technically already started, the preseason. And all these coaches were like, no, sorry, she has no club experience. She's 14 years old. There's no way. We're not going to train someone how to play soccer and coach them up. Except for this one coach, Dean Freeman. So shout out to Dean Freeman. He was like, yeah, let her come on. So I came out and, made the team and started playing and had a lot of success, was lead goal scorer. And we won. The team was awesome. We had the coolest team and they were all so chill. It was a great experience. But I quickly took off and was like, okay, everything's on track for what I'm doing. I'm finally on the club team. And then transitioning out of that was, okay, now can we get her on the high school team? And the only way that my parents let me do that was by doing independent study through the high school. So that was still homeschooled, but at least I could play with the soccer team. So I ended up making varsity as a freshman and balling out. I think I was the lead goal scorer again that season, and was doing great. I was like, oh, my wildest dreams are coming true. Everything's coming together. That season ended, and then all those club coaches who had said, no, she can't try out for this team, blah, 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 came back around and were like, hey, does she want to come and play for us? And I was like, no, screw you guys. I'm I'm sticking to the coach that actually gave me a shot. And plus, I loved the team that I was on. So moving forward, I was going into my sophomore year, feeling like I'm, kicking ass. I'm doing great in club, lead goal scorer again in high school, at least one of the top. We're winning championships. I start getting into this mindset of like, okay, I'm going Division I don't care what anyone says. So I start reaching out and emailing all these coaches. I don't even know what I was saying in those emails. Like, I look back at them because I actually have an archive of like all these emails that I sent to these coaches. And I don't even think I spelled most of those emails correct because I'm dyslexic. I could barely read until I was like 10 years old too. I was very, very homeschooled, kind of not schooled. So it was a tough email, I'm sure, but I got a lot of coaches, being nice, emailing me back. Eventually my parents were like, let's go sit down with this one coach who he had been coaching one of the colleges in the town that I grew up in and had a lot of connections. He knew how to get players recruited. So we're like, all right, let's meet with this guy. Let's talk. Let's see, what it's going to take to get Izzy to play Division I and blah, blah, blah. So we sit down and I'm like, this is going to be that big moment in my life. And the coach is like, basically just goes in to tell me how I started late. I was a big fish in a small pond. That's the only reason I was doing well. There was no chance for me to play Division I soccer. And I remember sitting there just like my heart sinking. And just wondering like, what? I'm doing so good though. What is he talking about? And, my parents were disappointed too. So we were driving home and my dad was trying to be like so positive. He was super nice. He's like, well, we can find a good Division II for you. It's going to be a good mix, blah, 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 whatever. I was just heartbroken. I was like, man, what the heck? Like, and this was one of my coaches. So I was realizing he's been seeing me play this whole time. He knows how good I've been doing. He's still telling me there's no chance for me to go D1. What the heck? So I get home. I go to my brother, Jack. Again, I'm like telling him, this is terrible. I've been devastated. This guy just told me there's no chance. And then basically Jack just said, who cares what he said? Do your own thing. And probably like 30 minutes later, I was like, oh yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm still going to go D1. And I'm so grateful that I was able to have that influence right away of just like, it doesn't matter what someone says to you, says like, you can't do, you're too late, you missed it. It matters what you do. And you can make it happen. Whatever you want to happen, you can make it happen as long as you believe that it can happen. And I believed it. I believed it the whole time. So I was back on track. I was like, I'm still going D1. I was in sophomore year, ended up getting an offer from Sacramento State, which was a Division I. I was super excited. Everything's falling into place. And then I had my first major injury. And I ripped my right quad. And looking back now, there's not a real surprise as to why I ripped my quad. I was definitely overtraining and overworked from the high school coach and maybe a little bit of the club. But it was not a huge surprise when I tore it. So the next year was spent trying to rehab my quad, and it was a very painful process. And I'm saying emotionally painful because there were times when I felt like it was never going to get better. There was no chance for me to heal. And I ended up having to have a meeting with a doctor, and he said, Izzy, you can play now or you can play later, but you cannot play both. So I had to make that decision to sit out so that I could heal and have a chance at, continuing my career. So I took a full 6 months off, completely focused on rehabbing my quad, and finally got to this place of feeling that I was going to have the second chance. I was going to get back on track. My scholarship was good and everything like that. So then coming into my junior year, the summer of my junior year, I'm playing well again. I'm feeling good. Everything's back on track. And then I tear my right ACL. And I did not have the emotional maturity when that happened to even have a little bit of faith that, I was going to push through and that my career was going to be fine. I just was like crying hysterically, not because of the pain, but because I knew I was going to be out for a very, very long time. And to me, it felt like, okay, your goals are now, it's not happening for you. So that was very tough. And then I realized I wasn't going to be able to take my scholarship, and there was a lot of other things going on because of that injury. So I ended up pivoting, and a lot of the junior colleges in the area, for some reason, got wind of the fact that I wasn't going to play at a university, and I was like an open player. So I toured a bunch of different junior colleges, looked into a bunch of different programs. I ended up landing at Folsom Lake Junior College, which was one of the best things that could ever happen to me. At the time, though, I was still feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is embarrassing. I'm going to a junior college. I'm supposed to be a Division I athlete. This is not in the plans, but it really was in the plans. So I ended up transferring to Folsom Lake College, which is a very rough transition, just because I had gone from being very like homeschooled, sheltered, to basically moving into a party house. I had no idea how to navigate that world, how to be a good roommate or a friend or teammate in that situation. It was really tough for sure. But moving forward, got to learn a lot about soccer. However, as I was trying to rehab and come back, my quad wasn't letting me play the way that I needed to play. I had to sit out constantly. I could only train for a couple days. And I think it was really just the striking of the ball as a forward combined with the sprints. My quad just couldn't take it. I think I had re-ripped it or tore it when I had torn my ACL. So the recovery wasn't there. And I remember the trainer talking to me, and he was like, you can't do this. You need to change positions, maybe be a defender or something. And I was like, I'm not going to go any less hard as a defender. But in that moment, I had such clarity. I just heard this voice being like, you're going to be a goalie. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a goalie. And I told the trainer that, and he was like, okay, I guess talk to Donnie, talk to your head coach. So I went over to my coach's office, and I said, hey, my quad is not healing. This is not going to work. I cannot be a striker anymore. I'm going to switch to goalie. And I think they just had a lot of faith in me, or they thought it just wasn't going to work out and I was just going to drop off. But I switched. I made the switch, and a couple months I got the starting position. I played a season, and I got an all-conference player of the year or the season. Started finding success again. Started talking to some Division I schools like Riverside, UC Irvine, out in California. And then we went into spring season. I started playing semi-pro, and in the semi-pro game, they asked me to. We were tied 0-0, and they asked me. They're like, "Hey, we need some goals scored because otherwise, we're not going to win the game." And I was like, "Okay, all right, I'll go on the field and play and see what happens." And I scored a goal, and I scored another goal, and then I think I just got selfish and greedy and wanted to score a third goal. And as I was running down the side of the field, full sprint, I just feel something pop in my left knee. And I knew as soon as it happens, I had just torn my left ACL. So, I followed the ground, and I had people running over. They're like, well, what's happening? What's wrong? What did you do? And I was like, I just tore my left ACL. And they're like, what? How do you know that? And I was like, I just know that I did. Obviously, I was in a lot of pain. But my reaction in that moment was not this panic of, oh my gosh, my career is over, my scholarships aren't happening. The first thing that I actually said was thank you. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Because I truly felt that this new challenge was going to make me that much stronger, that much tougher, and get me that much closer to my actual potential. So I felt that. And then the second thing I felt was, oh my gosh, I'm letting my team down so bad right now. At that point, I was, one of the main leaders of the team and also the starting goalkeeper. So I knew that wasn't the best mix for my team. called my head coach, told him. I'm sure he was so mad at me because I had no business playing, and especially not playing on the field where I shouldn't have been. But anyways, that happened, and then it was on to a new rehab journey and a surgery and everything. Finally came back in 2020, January 2020, and was doing great. Started talking to the schools again, and then what happened? COVID, March 2020. And I was like, what is going on? Am I even meant to play soccer? Every time I try and come back, something is getting in my way. And at that point, I had started to kind of resent being a goalkeeper. I didn't want to be a goalkeeper anymore. I wanted to be a forward so bad, but my leg just couldn't handle it. So I ended up just going home, moving home, and, just trying to train every day the way that I could. I ended up leaving the Folsom Lake team. It was not a good fit for me to be a remote soccer player. I didn't handle it well. I didn't have the maturity to do what I was supposed to do, and I had no interest in doing these Zoom meetings and doing soccer drills with a phone. I couldn't handle it. I didn't handle it well, but I also knew I needed to get out before it got any worse. So I resigned from that team, and then was in this really interesting limbo of, what am I doing? How do I even continue this career? What do I do? So again, it was just kind of scrambling, and there was a moment where I was going to go and play in at this Division II school, and I moved out there. Thank goodness I didn't sign any paperwork, and quickly realized that was not going to be a good fit for me. So I was out there, and I was like, I can't deal with these virtual seasons in California. So I was like, what am I going to do? Where are they playing soccer? And so just after some research, realized Tennessee was pretty much still functioning during COVID. So I then went into hitting up every single Division I school in Tennessee and the surrounding states. Email after email. This is who I am. This is the position that I play. This is my height, my weight, my GPA, everything. I'm eligible to transfer. I emailed so many coaches over and over and over again. So I realized the game was to be consistent. The game was to, be resilient. And, if someone doesn't hit you back, don't take it personally. Just ask them again. Email them again. I ended up getting an email back from a school near Nashville called MTSU. For whatever reason, they were in a situation where they only had one goalkeeper. So they obviously needed a second goalkeeper, and the scholarship was there. So it was a very fast process of they need me to transfer in the spring. I'd gotten in touch with them, I think in December. And then it was by the end of December, I was I'm moving out there for spring season in January. So picked up, moved across the country with a couple of my friends, and dove right into the season. And part of me was there was a lot of internal conflict I faced at that time, because I was in this moment of everyone acting as if, I had just finally reached my goal of playing Division I soccer, of getting a scholarship. That's everything that I'd ever wanted. And there was a lot of truth to that. It was, but I was so unhappy. Even at that point, I just didn't want to be a goalkeeper. I didn't enjoy it, but I was so hell-bent on making my dream come true and achieving that goal that I was no, it's fine. I'm going to learn to love this position, even though I'd been doing it for 3 years at that point, not enjoying it. So I came out, rough transition, got COVID, a lot of things just didn't go the way that, you'd want them to go. But as the season wore on, I just started to get more and more depressed. And the truth was, it was kind of finally sinking in. I don't enjoy this. I would have dreams at night of being a forward and scoring the goal, and then waking up and it was a nightmare, because that wasn't my life. My life was that I was blocking goals, not scoring goals. And that was really, really tough. And I remember calling a mentor and saying, am I supposed to be this miserable doing this every single day? And because he had played Division I football, and he was like, no, that's not how it should feel. And but you got to make the decision what you're going to do. So decided to just give my absolute all to the season, and see what happens. See if, and I was like, if I'm still this miserable by the time the season ends, then I will walk away. And at that time I'd threatened like walking away. Like I say threatened to myself, really. I was like, I'm going to leave. Like I'm so unhappy. But I finally made that decision. And then as the season came to an end, I realized it was time for me to walk away, because I'd been, pursuing this dream for so many years because I said it was something that I was going to do. And I'm very proud of myself for doing that and making that happen, but it was not in the way that I wanted it to be. And I did not enjoy what I was doing, but I'm grateful for it all because it taught me so much. But walking away was one of the hardest decisions that I ever made, because at that point I felt like that's all I committed the last 18 years of my life to, was getting that Division I scholarship and then choosing to walk away. But I realized truly it's for the greater, because now I'm doing exactly what I love to do. I'm helping so many players. I'm coaching players online and in person, and teaching them how to get recruited and live their dreams. And there's so much fulfillment in that and joy in that. But that's kind of a quick peek into my story and how that actually played out, and how I transitioned from being the athlete to now just helping other athletes get recruited. I also still am an athlete. I love jiu-jitsu and all kinds of combatives. But yeah, please connect with me, especially if you're an athlete who's dealt with a lot of injuries, who, is looking for some sort of support in that and not knowing how to overcome that. Or if you're just like an athlete and you're so unhappy doing what you're doing. I don't think that's normal. I think most athletes, when they're doing what they're passionate about, like they should be happy and they should be enjoying it. Of course, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. But one of the biggest lessons that I learned from my soccer journey was, yes, I truly can make anything happen. I can achieve anything that I want to achieve. I can reach my goals. But just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. At the same time, I don't think like going after something again and again and again is never gonna harm you, because you're gonna learn so many skills from that. And like I would not change anything about my journey, not even the injuries. And I'm actually dealing with a knee injury right now that's like tearing me apart, because I want to be competing in jiu-jitsu so badly. And when I'm coaching, I want to be, playing with my players, but I'm not at that point right now. But I know that I'm facing this injury, and that if I choose to have the right attitude and the right response, like it is only going to make me a better person and help more people. So thanks so much for listening, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so grateful for your support. I'm already excited for the next show. Turn on notifications and be on the lookout for my next episode. Also, please share the show with anyone you feel like might benefit from listening to. Thank you for all your love and support. I will see you soon.